Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Cool.
It's interview Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. I'm losing track of weeks already. It's interview Wednesday here on the channel. We are back, and it's our first one of about 8 interviews, not on the same day. We have 8 interviews at least lined up for March. This one is very special. If you notice behind me, it's alliteration of what's behind me, as you can see by the gentleman's top. It is the Wardogs version of the Bullet Club today, and we're talking to Mr. Clark Connors. Clark, thank you for joining us today in the States. Evening over here, afternoon over there.
Yeah, beautiful, sunny and 75. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's nice over here, I'll tell you what.
I'll give you an idea. It's fucking freezing over here in the UK. um,
Sucks to suck.
no surprise. I think your tag partner will tell you and probably tells you enough about how cold the UK can be over here. Especially, we're still in winter here over here, so we're moving in. It's kind of changing at the moment into spring, but it's not coming quick enough over here just yet. But thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to join us. It's quite interesting because I was looking through your career over the last couple of weeks doing as research as we try and do. You sort of went to Japan fairly early on, and you'd done like a year or so. You'd done some work in Defy, you'd done some All-Star Wrestling, you'd done some, the West Coast side. What was it that made you do that jump so early? A lot of people take their time and do a lot of independence for many, many years, but you went quite quickly over there.
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much because they I'm an idiot and they offered me. I took my first offer. Yeah, no, I think for me, the whole point of wrestling, especially starting out early, is to make money. It's a
Yeah.
it's a job, I'm not a big proponent of, I mean, I totally get why people do it, but like weekend warrior shit. Like if you're gonna do this job, it's a job, trying to make your money.
Mhm.
And the indies doesn't necessarily cut it, and I wanted to be a full-time wrestler as soon as possible. And so New Japan gave me that opportunity pretty much right off the bat, year and a half in. And I didn't know anything about leverage at the time, so that was probably a was probably a dumb move on my part. But yeah. So and it turned out that New Japan has been a great experience, opportunity, company, all the above. So I've been sticking with it, and I've really rather enjoyed it.
Yeah, excellent. You say you went straight away, but did you notice, like, obviously Japan's always famous for strong style wrestling. We have British strong style over here. I know you've worked for Rev Pro Wrestling over here a couple of times, so you'd kind of know that sort of style of play. But when you move over there, or when you go over there, do you have to sort of change things like diets? Do you have to change differently? Obviously, the culture and the Japan itself is different to the US. What are the fundamental changes that you had to put in?
Well, generally, like since I did the LA dojo, I kind of got we got a taste of it, got thrown into the fire with Shibata.
Yeah.
So that was basically the Japanese culture brought over to us. So yeah, that was basically we ate all day, every day. Like it's called chanko. It's what sumo wrestlers eat. It's like a big stew you make every day. We did that for the first about year, where we'd make a big pot of that, just throw a shitload of meat in. We'd have steaks for lunch, dinner, everything. But that was all in preparation to kind of because for all the act like the working out we were doing, like we were, in the gym 6, 7 hours a day training, taking bumps, wrestling, just the three or four of us. So by the time I made it over to Japan, yeah, that was all kind of second nature at that point. So whether it was just um, you know, whether it's just getting used to eating Japanese food more often than not, the curries, the chankos. But overall, it's way easier to stay in shape over there than it is over in the States. The food is much cleaner, and I can drink a lot more over there and not have to worry about the repercussions. So that's the important part.
Certainly is. When you're training over there, and again, sort of differentiators between, the US and Japan and the different styles, how did you find that initially, your first sort of, say, your first training experience over there differs from the US?
Um, Well, it's a lot more hard nosed. They're trying to. There's a lot more of a spirit of, especially because it's at the highest level. Being, I can't speak to working for an independent promotion over there,
Hmm.
but they're trying to weed out, people who shouldn't be in this business, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a lot more, hard nosed, taking a lot of bumps, a lot of mostly actually just amateur wrestling techniques. Um, and getting a grasp on that and just fundamentals over and over again. It's like you would see in like in a lot of like animes. I don't really
Yeah.
watch a lot of that stuff, but it's that kind of style where it's like you stay focused on the one thing, you do it 1,000 times. You do one punch 1,000 times versus 1,000 punches one time, right? Or whatever the sayings go. That old Far East mentality. Yeah, it's real over there and it makes sense. And I think that it's something that we could use over on this side of the pond as well.
Yeah, definitely. We've mentioned just now that you did do some work from Revolution Pro Wrestling, and hopefully, who knows, maybe in the future you'll do some more. How did you find that experience in the UK? Rev Pro, very strong style based over here in England. How did you find your experience at Rev Pro?
Yeah, I shit was I had a couple experiences with Rev
Yeah.
Pro, came over a couple times, right? And yeah, I mean it's different because we would come in, especially when the first couple times I came in, we just just came in and kicked the shit out of some of the young boys. Uh and we kind of actually were showing them what strong style's about, Katsuyori Shibata style, which isn't my favorite type of wrestling by any means. But the other times I've come over, I wrestled, that's where I wrestled Driller,
Yeah.
Dan, the first time. That was like more on like an excursion basis, and that was that was I always get a kick out of that, because he's I mean, if anyone knows him, he's a dick, and that's what I love about him. So the first time you meet him, it's like, oh shit, this is Dan Maloney, okay. And we got on really well though, and of course we do now. So yeah, it was cool. Rev Pro, you guys got some a couple real good wrestlers over there, and yeah, let's see what the future holds for you
Well,
guys.
one of
I'll be
one of those.
I'll be over
Yeah.
there.
Well, I
I'll be
hope.
back. I'll be back.
Yeah, hope so. I was going to say one of those wrestlers itself was you probably know very well from New Japan would be Will Ospreay, who's just finally got his move, all elite, done his first match against, well, not his first match, his first full match against Takeshita over the weekend. A lot of the English talent over here very much in that mold of, Michael Oku, I think is the next biggest name on the list. You may or not have heard of him. He's a man that beat Ospreay in his last match. So you may
Yeah,
see, yeah, you may,
I know. Okay.
yeah, Oku, yeah, you may see him over in the States a very time soon. But Bullet Club itself, I know there's different types. I mean, there's even in WWE, there's the club, so to speak. With HA, not the same, I know, but TNA has got Bullet Club ABC with Chris Bay and Ace Austin. It's everywhere. It is like it was supposed it's like WCW's version of the NWO, but just splattered around different organizations. But it is one of the most biggest factions in wrestling.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's eclipsed the NWO in terms of that, in terms of being the biggest faction of all time. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I wouldn't necessarily say, because everyone knows the NWO was its best when it was a clusterfuck. No, no, I think in terms of like Bullet Club, it's a cool idea that spans through all the major promotions in wrestling, which I find so unique and never really been done before. But that being said, the real Bullet Club is the Japanese Bullet Club, is the Wardogs,
Yeah.
led by David Finlay. And that's all there is to it. It's the lineage runs through there. I mean, like there's guys who have obviously created the damn thing in other companies, but they're not there anymore. It's ours, and we're the only ones doing it correctly. And how Bullet Club, the Wardogs in particular, is how the Bullet Club always has been and should be. Bunch of foreigners kicking ass, doing whatever the fuck they want, and that's damn sure what we're doing.
Indeed, you're doing it, and it's great. I mean, obviously, as I said before, I am wearing the Bullet Club jersey. It's from
Yeah.
guys that we make over here, which is a very good soccer jersey. Sorry, you're from America.
I speak a little bit of your language. I hang out with a couple
Yes,
guys and dogs.
you certainly do, and we'll talk about Driller and so in a minute. I must ask, one of the Japanese wrestlers I've really loved watching, and I know that you fought, and I want to get your opinion on him, was Minoru Suzuki. He's got like,
Yeah.
over here, not over here, but even in the States, they sing his entrance when he comes out, and you know, he sort of epitomizes that strong style. And I love watching him compete. He had some great matches even in AEW, I think, with Kingston. But what is it like facing those sort of Japanese legends, especially over in Japan?
Oh yeah. Well, what's funny is I think it's the matches that I've had have been more hyped up in the States against like guys like that, because I
Mm.
think in Japan they see them so often and they're part of the culture. They're so ingrained that it's like they don't get the same oohs and ahs like watching Shingo or Ishii or Suzuki, any of those guys, Shibata. They don't get that same, like, people in America fucking love them, and it's like but over in Japan, like they'll boo Suzuki because he's kind of a dick. Not as much anymore, but they're for a while there. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to wrestle guys like that. Especially because I like to show people that I have a full, well-rounded repertoire and I can do that strong style shit. You know what I mean? And I'm good at it, and I can wrestle guys who do it, and I can put on a hell of a match when I do it. I don't like it. Like, I don't like to do it. I rather wrestle my way. But at the same time, yeah, it's been an honor to be in the ring with guys like Suzuki and Ishii, especially. That's big moments for me in my career.
One of the matches that I see over at Revolution Pro, funny enough, last year was Erie, and he took on a guy called Ricky Knight Jr. Again, you may be familiar with the name.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was just, I mean, you might not, it was strong style, but there was a point during that match where Ricky Knight Jr. literally headbutted him, and you could hear the thud of the head on the head, and it was just unbelievable. But talking about the way that you sort of say your style differentiates, one of the guys that you took on in Battle of the Valley, Zack Sabre Jr. Now talking of dicks, I love it the way that he talks in matches. I mean, like when he calls orange bollocks, and I think he dragon bollocks was Bryan Danielson, which it always cracks me up. And he does a lot of work, obviously, in Rev Pro as well, but that's where you're talking about you're fighting a different cat there in a technical wizard rather than the strong style of Japan. Facing Zach, do you have to? And I suppose when you're taking on the Japanese guys, it's all hard hitting. But is Zach more of a conditional? You need to be in a better sort of more of someone to do a cardio state because it's going to go potentially longer than a strong style.
Um, well, when I faced him, it was actually ironically for the TV title,
Yes.
and that's like it was a 15-minute time limit. So
Yeah.
so it was more of a sprint than it was for the long haul.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I trained for a match with a guy like Zach, I know he's gonna out wrestle me, like, technically. I mean, he's the best technical wrestler of all time, I think. But that being said, there's other ways that I can whoop his ass, and I take advantage of that. Like, and don't get me wrong, when it comes to getting kicked, he might have kicked me harder than anyone ever has kicked me in a wrestling ring. So he's no slouch with that. I could feel my heart almost leave my chest. But that being said, yeah, there is ways, like he can't take a lot of damage, so I work on a lot of things like that, and I can out stamina anybody if I need to. I just don't like to. I'm pretty, nowadays I like to just drink and just get my job done, but I can go with the best, and I can. And it just depends on how I train. So a guy like Zach, yeah, I got my technical wizardry a little bit. I worked on it a little bit, rolled around with some people, but just mainly just to stay alive and don't get pinned in those moments. But everything else is, yeah, I'm just work on other aspects of my game.
Yeah, I have to talk about Dan now. He turned on United Empire. He joined you guys with the Bullet Club. I do have a United Empire jersey as well. I'm not going to lie, just because I like soccer jerseys. I like soccer
Yeah,
jerseys.
okay.
They're very good. But I wanted to make a point. you did come to Royal Quest 3 and you took on two of the UK's. You took, well, one of the best in the UK now who's not long signed for TNA, Leon Slater. And he took on his,
Yeah.
and Cameron Kai, who's one of the fastest rising up and comers over here.
Yeah.
We talk about different cats again, and Zach was the kind of conditional match where you have to be in good conditioning. You got the strong style, and then Leon, who is just this flying everywhere over the, going. Could you tell when you fought him there that, he's 18, I think at the time, could you
Yeah.
tell that he was going to be a star just from that moment?
Yeah, those kids are good, man. I give it a couple more years. They got to really shape themselves and learn how to become full professional wrestlers. But like you said, they're so young and they're so really, really talented. Um, yeah, both of them, I didn't realize that the Cameron had only been wrestling for whatever, not even a year or some shit like that. I thought he's been doing it for a little while. I was very impressed by him and how they carried themselves. And Leon's gonna do some really crazy things in this business. So there's little things that he's gonna be able to work on and get better in. But like in terms of natural athleticism, it reminds me a lot of Kevin Knight, from he was in the dojo with me,
Yeah.
who's one of the best freak athletes. Or same with, I mean, I've been around a lot of freak athletes. Alex Coughlin is maybe the strongest person I've ever met. He could do a standing front flip, that type of shit too. Like we're real freaks, but like, yeah, I think that Leon kid's going to be real good. I think Cameron's going to be real good. I'm excited to see where they go. We'll cross paths down the line as well.
Yeah, obviously Leon soon to be going to, I can't remember when. I'm sure it is April time that he's not doing any more bookings over here. He's just recently lost his championship at Rev Pro this past
Mm.
Sunday, I believe. Yeah, so he'll be in TNA soon. He's got X Division written all over him. I think if you're gonna mold a division, it's right there. And Kevin Knight's there as well. So obviously we're gonna have two. Working with Dan. You've already said you kind of picked up some of the language. Did you need an interpreter at first?
Yeah, well, Dan by himself isn't too bad, and Gabe by himself isn't too bad. But when you put Dan and Gabe together, it's a completely different language. And it rubs off on the rest of us too. So then you have myself and Alex and David fucking talking with stupid fucking accents too. And it's a real sight to behold. But yeah, Dan. Yeah, when he gets with Gabe, it's something else. I can't understand. Most of the people around us are just like in the locker rooms or whatever. Just goes, are they speaking English? And probably not, even though they're fucking English. So yeah, it's fun.
Dan is one of another one when I look at a worker, and I think that in terms of like total package, Dan really does have everything.
Mhm.
And he's obviously been. I know he's been in New Japan for a while. He's done a bit of Impact Wrestling. I know he's wrestled a few times there. Do you think someday, and we're not, don't want to sort of take a step away from New Japan, but is Dan going to end up doing like an Osprey someday? Do you think?
I think Dan's gonna do whatever the fuck Dan wants to do,
Yeah.
and in the best way possible, because he's like you said, he's the total package. Fuck, good looking dude. He's a hell of a worker. He can speak with the best of them. Yeah, no, I think Dan is gonna do great things, and he's still young. Dan, what is he, 20, just turned 27, maybe
Yeah.
26, 27 years old. Yeah, no, he's been doing it forever. Like, the guy's got all the tools, and I'm really lucky to team with him right now. I think that we complement each other so well. And there's things that he teaches me and I teach him. And yeah, but I think everybody within this Wardogs group is got superstar Osprey potential, as it were. I don't think we necessarily have the same ways to go about it and the same um maybe aspirations, but like because I think guys like us, like we know we're all really fucking good. We are the best wrestlers in the world, but we don't need to tell everybody about it. We don't need to be the GOAT, all that bullshit. We don't need to have 5-star melt matches or whatever the fuck Dave Meltzer says. We go out there and we do our jobs and we do it better than anybody. We put on fucking great matches, entertaining stories. We tell stories, and we're just, people fucking dig us, like we have people, and people either hate us, they love us, but they care about us. So with all that in mind, I think in a lot of ways we already are doing the Osprey thing, whatever the
Mhm.
fuck that means. But we just have different goals, and we're all, especially Dan and Gabe. Like I think the sky's the limit for them, So I'm really excited to see where everything goes with everybody.
Yeah, Gabe. I hadn't even mentioned Gabe. I should have mentioned him. And he is another one. I mean, he's an abs. I said that I saw him wrestle. I think it was Osprey, and I was he's a fucking nutcase. He was like
Yeah,
he was
he's
everywhere.
insane.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's fucking insane. It's
his
amazing.
his promos, like I think he done one when he was bleeding, and it was just so yeah, captivating. And I think that's what it is. I always look at a promo and I always think of like Eddie Kingston, and it's like someone that can you hang off his every word and you have to believe it because it's him and it's the way that he feels like he's talking from the heart when he talks. Maybe he is, I don't know, but he's Gabe reminds me there's a little bit of Eddie in there for him, but I can't wait to see like the Gabes, the Leons, obviously bias being British. I want to see these guys
Yeah, yeah.
do really well. We sort of mentioned AEW that you've done Forbidden Door.
I did, yeah, first one.
um it's a big thing. This was kind of a thing that was really unheard of. AEW brought on the Forbidden Door. They've done all this. We've had some dream matches, Danielson, Zach, and we've had, some of the Japanese guys come in and have some great matches. Is that something that you want to see more of? Or do you think sometimes, I quote a phrase quite a lot when I'm reviewing shows, that less can sometimes be more? So maybe not an annual thing. I know like TNA do it now, and we're seeing a lot more crossovers, which is good because rosters have people on there that can match well with other, TNA roster. There's some wrestlers there that A, competed in Japan, but also B, haven't done but put on great matches. But do you think some cases that maybe not every year do we need to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think there's nothing wrong with like you said, oversaturation it can be an issue. But if it draws money, do it. Is what I say. I mean, because I think that during the year, here and there, a story will arise where a guy will come from, say, AEW and do Best of the Super Juniors or New Japan Cup. Like, what's his name? Jack
Jack
Perry is
Perry.
doing New Japan Cup, right? So I think that's a great little story to have him over there, and that's going to lead to some whatever the hell happens, and then the same thing will happen like when a guy like Suzuki or Ishii goes over to Ring of Honor or AEW and they do a quick shot. There's just like these little tastes, and so I think there's nothing wrong with once a year having an event that is almost like a mini culmination of that, and it pushes along other things going on in the companies. Yeah, and so I think there's nothing wrong with it. I think as long as people are interested, and I think that's a big thing, is a lot of people are interested in crossovers and dream matches and all that crap. And that's just kind of where we are as a society right now. And I think that'll be a reversion back to the mean at some point. I think it's probably actually going that way already. But we'll see how it goes in the future. But at this point, I don't mind it.
No, it's good. I enjoy it. I'd like to see that. So I say there's some rosters that complement the wrestlers that go against us. We've already said, Danielson and Zach have had it. They've had it in Japan as well. So I don't mind it, but I don't. For me, I don't want to see it every year because it would lose that. I don't know. Not to say nostalgic. That's the wrong word, but it will use that specialness for me. I'd like to see it maybe once every couple of years, and you know, maybe that's just me. Though.
No, it makes sense. I get it, but it's one of those things where like it's. I think people have such short. Your rarity in the sense that most people have a very short attention span for this type of stuff,
Yeah.
and so they get to the point where like, oh, we need to see this match, we need to see it, and like you said, less is more, and that's good in a lot of senses, but you're also not giving them a lot of things when you. Even if you're doing it once a year, there's only 10 matches tops on the card. So there's a lot of things that aren't happening that can
Mm.
come out the next year. It's like, oh, why didn't they do this match? And then, hey, what do you know? Comes up eventually. So yeah, I see both sides of it though.
Yeah, I think so. I do like it though. It's a great event to have.
Yeah,
AEW did create their version of the G1. I
yeah,
don't know if you know how that went down in Japan. It was because it was Continental Classic, wasn't it? It's similar to the G1 tournament in just their version of it.
sure.
How did it go down? Did they think it was a kind of sometimes it's the best form of flattery, isn't it? Sometimes when they do
Yeah,
something like that.
I don't think anyone gave a shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think anyone even knew of like Because like when you're in the business, you don't necessarily. I mean, some people just watch watch everything. Like I know there's a lot of guys in Japan in the locker room who love watching everything. I'm not one of them, so I don't really hang out with people who like watch wrestling a lot, And and then once again, it's totally cool. I'm glad people do, and it's good to scout your opponents. But from what I did hear about it, I think it's great. I think that's such a cool idea, like just because it does. People are so used to WWE, right?
Hmm.
Where everything is just for some reason a match gets booked because a general manager says so, or because whatever the reason might be, right? And that's just how people view wrestling in America. Um, but bringing in that Japanese influence of the sports aspect of it, I think is such a new thing that I think people will really bite into, and it'll help people draw eyes to the G1 too. I think it's like, oh, if you like this, well, watch this.
Yeah.
So it can't be bad.
No, good. I loved it. I love the G1 as well. I always watch it over here, and I love the Continental Classic because it is just pure wrestling as well. It's they didn't do any sort of bullshit DQs or anything. It was literally pin for submission. It worked really
Mhm.
well. I think they only had, I don't know if they had one time limit draw. They may have had a time limit draw. I can't quite remember, but I just loved it because it was pure wrestling for 15 minutes or however long the matches were. And it kind of elevated the younger guys. You saw the likes of, I think it was, who was it? Wheeler Yuta and people like that, and Daniel Garcia, sorry, more so than ever.
Yeah.
Really got elevated up. They had some great matches with some of the more experienced, great talent they got there. So I really enjoyed it. Loved the G1 as well. But you did a first ever in New Japan, a coffin match in New Japan. Now I haven't seen that yet. Now you did win. You did win it.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah.
But coffin match. How does this work? I mean, I know you've got to lock the guy in a casket, and that's obvious. What going into this? Do you actually end up? Do you go into the casket? Do you have a look at it and see what it's like and sort of get the feel of it in there, or do you just think, nah, fuck it, throw him in?
Well, we were the ones who got the casket in the
Yeah.
first place, so we picked it out. We found a nice one. Well, no, we no, we called up a couple places, and we are the ones who got it, so we played around with it and saw what it was about. We weren't planning on being in it, so yeah, no, it was cool. It's a match like that is pretty fucking cool and different. I mean, I never thought that I'd be doing a coffin match in fucking New Japan, but sometimes like that's the cool part about being in the Wardogs. Is we have a lot of ideas that we want to do, so we just do them. And for the most part, it just makes sense and works for us as a group because who's going to stop us? Yeah.
Exactly. How did the fans take it over there?
They loved it. I mean, I don't know for a fact. I'm not,
Yeah.
I just know from the people in attendance, I mean, it was a main event. We packed out Cork and, like it was sold out full to the rafters. And that was, after, Okada wasn't even there anymore, or not, or he was on the show or anything, like that was a big thing for us. It was like, all right, can we still draw how we want to draw? And we did as a main event. We booked out Cork and like pretty easily with a coffin match. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Excellent. Speaking of Okada, it's likely that he's debuting tonight over AW, from what I hear. I don't have Meltzer sources at all, but from what I hear, apparently the debut is tonight for Okada in AW. So
Cool.
best of luck to him. Look, Clark, we're going to start wrapping up now. Just tell everyone, look, what have you got coming up at New Japan? Obviously, look, if you want the UK, if you want to come over here, how can people book you? What, and also where can people buy the War Dog merch?
Yeah, man. So let's see here. You can see me at Clark Connors on Twitter, at Clark.Connors on Instagram. So yeah, for all the promoters over there, definitely. I know that Dan and I want to get over there and do some work. We're still the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champions. We bring out those nice shiny white belts. I want to do a lot of work out there in particular, just because I do enjoy out that side of the pond. So yeah, you can just reach out to me on Twitter as a promoter. And then merch wise, New Japan fucking shop, whatever the hell it's called. But I actually am opening up my own merch store here. And that should be up by the end of the month. So to check out my Twitter and my Instagram. There'll be links to that as well. Got some new merch coming out, some 100 proof shit. Probably not any Wardogs stuff because I don't have the licensing on that. But everything else, it'll be Clark Connor's merch and all that. So yeah, yep.
Brilliant. Well, you heard that promoters. Look, and speaking of promoters, I'm going to talk about who we've got coming on in a minute, and maybe I could put a word in next week. But from us, we've got some guests coming up. So the next 2 days, so this is Wednesday night at the time of recording, but you fans will be watching it on Thursday. So on Thursday, we have Revolution Pros JJ Gal coming on with a big sort of wrestling spotlight for him. On Friday, we've got another Rev Pro talent, which is David Francisco. And on Monday, we have 2 interviews. One is the Revolution Pro Wrestling promoter, Andy Quidlan. So there we go. I get a chance to have a chat with Andy. Secondly, on Monday night, we get to open the book of Mr. Anderson, as Kent Anderson will be joining us to run through his whole career, which should be a bundle of fun. I'm hoping he's going to do his intro because I'm not going to do it. So I'll be stupid to do it. Next Wednesday, someone that you may know very well, the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, will be coming on the show as well for a chat. And then the following week, we have probably, and I know you're a tag team, so I better be careful with my words, one half of probably the most decorated tag team in wrestling. We will say get the tables, but hopefully he'll get a table, put his laptop on it and sit on the chair, and we can talk to Devon Dudley about all things tag team wrestling. Just quickly, our sponsors, Taylor James, LA Taylor, Adonis Payne, Artemis, Luna. Shout out to she's also out the Hitting the Turnbuckle Women's Champion. She's defending against Kira Kamira coming up on April 12th over here at Apex Wrestling. On April 21st, our men's champion, Smashing Mike, will be going against James Ellis at Ignite Wrestling Full Throttle. But that show leads into July 14th, which is the Hitting the Turnbuckle sponsored show with Ignite, which will be Buckle Up. They'll have some names on their plaque that you may well know will be wrestling on that show. But we can't say anything right now because their names haven't been announced yet, but they will be announced in due course. But Clark, it's been brilliant. I love the Bullet Club. I love all the iterations of it. It's been great having a chat with you about New Japan and getting the lowdown on what it's like out there. Thank you so much for spending half an hour of your time with me. And I wish you nothing but the best. And we hope that we see you over here at some point at a show in England very, very soon.
Right on, man. Tell Andy what's up, and same with Ken. Tell him I've really missed his training with him for so long.
I will certainly mention that. But guys, this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. He has been 100% proof Clark Connors. I have been your host, Adam Cousins. Until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.